price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
B1 brothers and sisters, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I am your host, Afro Elite. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Tonight, we have a very special guest. We have our brother Dwann B in for a very special interview. All of his information, his links to his social media is listed in the description below. But without any further ado, let's bring up our special guest for this evening, our brother Dwann B.
I'm over cracking my knuckles on the mic. What's up, y'all?
Dwann, how are you doing, brother?
I'm good. How y'all doing? Chilling.
Very good. I personally would like to apologize to everyone. I know we've had technical difficulties, me and our brother Dwann. That's why we're so behind schedule, but we are here. So if everybody could do us a favor and everybody could share this link, I'm going to retweet this link out right now, actually. So if everybody could share this link to let everybody know that we are live on YouTube right now, so they don't miss out on this, I would greatly appreciate it. But as I'm doing that, Dwann, can you tell? Hold on. Brother Dwann, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about like what you do as far as your work for the community or things that you're into as far as, you know, history and music? I know you're into a lot of stuff. So for the sake of the audience, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
I'll give y'all a briefing because I be into so much stuff. I always forget two things every time I say what I do because I be busy. But I've just always been into music my whole life, you know what I mean? And then I'm a self-taught drummer. And when I taught myself how to play the drums, I've always just been a curious person, you know. Grew up in a household with my dad, you're going to be watching a lot of documentaries, you know. And so I was always in documentaries, always reading stuff on music, finding out, you know, I'll hear a song and then have to find out everything about that artist, about that bass player, about that piano player, about that drummer, whoever played on a song. And it just made me, so going back to the age of 14, I was just always learning who the greats were. And then, you know, growing up in LA, it's just normal to be around people who are like legends. You know what I mean? They just regular people. When you were a kid, they go to your church. You know what I mean? That's just the dude that played in church, you know, but you don't know he had a whole Grammy Award winning life back in the 70s, you know, and stuff like that. So they become your friends and mentors. And so just being around the people that created the sound and studying the sound and just loving music. That's how I really got into my music history stuff. I never did it to be a music historian or to teach one day. I did it for myself. I just, you know, I want to know for myself. If somebody interests me, I want to learn everything about them. You know, that's just how I was born. And so as I saw these people coming on talking about hip hop is Jamaican and all that stuff, that's what activated me to do my t-shirt and all my artwork, all my stuff on music. It was just a reaction to these knuckleheads. I'm like, hold on, this should be, why are we even talking about this? You know what I mean? But in that, I saw a lot of people really didn't know the history. I thought all that stuff I've been studying, I thought everybody knew it, honestly. 2 or 3 years ago, the stuff that I say, I assume most people knew 90% of it. You know, that's just how I looked at it. And then I saw, well, I am in my 40s. I'm used to being the young guy. I was always been around older people. So I'm like, damn, I'm 41 now. So it's a whole crop of cats in their 20s that was, you know, they don't know. So that sort of pushed me out front. And that comes from like my years working with kids. I started working with kids when I was 14. Came to a medical center in 1995, Watts, California. I never left. I mean, whether it be tutoring, coaching, basketball, behavioral therapists, all that kind of stuff, behavior specialists, all working with kids. And so I combined that with, you know, my music history, got the bullshit ass college degree for the people who like, we don't have a degree. You got that too for you idiots, even though it don't mean anything. And yeah, and so yeah, that's what I do. I'm stand-up comedy, shit, all kind of shit, man. I be forgetting what I do, man.
Well, that's very impressive, and it's very well needed. Actually, I do have the shirt. If you guys are interested, it's a really nice shirt. I love the shirt, and I love how interconnected it is, and how, you know, I found it very interesting that what turned into just curiosity for yourself
Mhm.
led into now you're teaching a lot of people that probably would have a very difficult time learning the history of the culture
Mhm.
had it not been for you just learning for yourself.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this question: why do you feel like it is so important that we know the history of the culture? So why do you feel like that's relevant, or should we just ignore when people say hip hop is Jamaican and hip hop comes from Cool J Herc and well, why do you feel like it is significant for us to know the history and to correct the history of that?
Because hip hop don't taste like plantains and jerk chicken. That's why. Hip hop tastes like, Philly cheesesteaks and hamburgers and pizza and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's hip hop. And it's because that's where my years working with children come together. And I could throw the college shit in there because I studied. My minor was in cultural. It was in anthropology, so learning how to study societies and study systems.
Mhm.
I'm trained in how to study people and study things. Again, that was more so for my own personal curiosity. Never thought I'd actually be using it. I went to college because my mama told me I got to, and so I when working with kids, this is what really got me into studying our history more and being more upfront teaching it. Is because when I work with my kids, I'd always ask a similar question just out of curiosity. What do you think about being black? Like, what do you think when you see black people on TV? What's up with this whole black thing? And basically, what my children would always tell me, they thought being black was basically we were slaves. Martin Luther King gave us civil rights. Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player, and Jay-Z's the greatest rapper. That's all they got about being black.
Mhm.
And I was just like, you know what? At one day I had to check myself because it was like, dang, Dwann, I know all these basketball stats. I'm a basketball encyclopedia. You know what I mean? I traveled the country. I spend half my day cleaning my room, just gathering up old basketball tickets from games in Minnesota and Cleveland, Miami, just all over. And I'm like, I could tell you who won the championship in 1984, the Boston Celtics, or 1987, the LA Lakers, or 1992 Bulls, 95 Rockets. I can repeat this shit off the top of my head. But when it comes to these kids, when it comes to telling them something about themselves, when it comes time to tell them what, when they ask me, what am I going to do when I get out of high school, and I can't provide a job, I'm like, what good is it knowing that the Detroit Pistons won the 2004 NBA championship and the Spurs won the 2003 championships and the Heat the 06? And what good is knowing all that shit if I can't teach a black person something and pass down some information? So that's what made me really focus in on spreading the information down like to the children, because it's like I know too much useless information. What do I know that's useful that can inspire the next generation to show their greatness? And all my years working with children, I saw that I developed my own plan because I was at a behavioral therapist company, and they say you got to talk to little Johnny, and you have to feel their feelings, and you have to listen to what they say and draw and connect their emotions and all that bullshit. What I realized was, man, when I connect these babies to who they are and put in them their responsibility to carry the cultural legacy forward, that was my inoculation for bad behavior. A sense of responsibility, a sense of knowing that you not only are you a part of, you built it and you're the foundation, and you're the person that created math. You're the person that created the elevator and ice cream and all that good shit that we talk about here in America. And you have a cultural legacy to push it forward. When I started doing that with my children, I saw the baby's behaviors change. I saw their grades go up. I saw them they did less bullying people and more trying to find out who they were. So I saw that out. And so why do I choose music to talk about so much? Because I talk about it. I use basketball to teach cultural legacy to children. I could teach cultural legacy using a damn water cup. I'm just a teacher. I could teach. But I use music because, one, everyone listens to music. Music is a soundtrack. Music is life. You can have music without movies, but you cannot have a movie without music. Music is everything. You have a heartbeat. That's the drum of your life. You know, when you fall in love with someone, she pulls on your heartstrings. Those are the strings and the guitars and the bass. Music, you play an organ, you know, because we have organs. Like music is a simile of life. And so I figure since music is so interconnected to life, why not use, and we're the progenitors of music, all the good shit the world plays is ours. Yes, they have their own cultural music, but they don't like that shit. How do I know? Because the minute they hear black music, they want to sound like us. So I figured, okay, instead of letting another black generation grow up thinking that Jay-Z and Michael Jordan and Martin Luther King, and I love Martin Luther King, no disrespect, and them starting our history as slavery, if they could believe that, they could also believe every time they turn the radio on that that's their blood, that's their birthright, and that's where they come from, and they don't share that shit with nobody. Because we always share the pain, but we never get to share the glory. So I'm like, man, instead of doing all the little small things, let's just go right to the top. Since everybody play music, since everybody listen to music, and all the music everybody play and listen to is ours, let's just go ahead and claim the shit that we created so we can stop all this nonsense, back and forth nonsense, and making our kids feel like they ain't done nothing. Long story, my bad.
No, this is very powerful, and I feel like it's very inspiring actually. When children have a sense of purpose, is pretty much what you were saying. When they have a sense of purpose, which comes from a sense of history, they will look at themselves differently. They will look at themselves as higher than they are. A lot of children, they act out because of, you know, insecurities and things like that. A lot of that is where the bullying comes from. So when you teach the children that they have that they're more than what their situation might be at the moment, that they have a deep history, then that can inspire a lot of our youth to become the best version of themselves.
Amen.
So let me ask you, what are some of in today's societies, as far as the music? I know you know a lot about the history, and you grew up with a lot of the old heads, and you've seen a lot of the growth. Because I've always said that music is like an art, and art develops, art evolves, and it grows. You know, and some people might have a taste for one type, and some people might have a taste for another one. What do you feel like leading up to today, and you have a lot of our music today that some people will consider to be a negative influence on the youth? What do you feel like was the pivot from our music inspiring to our music becoming what some would consider negative?
Well, we got to remember that what people consider negative is still life. Like we've always had negative music, you know. Muddy Waters had a song that said, "The gypsy woman told me your mama's bad luck child." You know, BB King had a song that said, "Don't answer the door. If you sick, just suffer till I get home. Don't even let the doctor." Matter of fact, he said, it's a line where he says, "If I don't want your mama come around. If your mama come around, tell her to meet me after work, and I get off about the break of day. So that's too late to visit anybody. So I tell your mama I'll see you on Sunday." Like we've always had like Memphis Slim got a song about starting a bar fight and on Saturday night, you know. So that's always been a part of our music. The difference is the thing is now there's no balance. Like, you know what I mean? There's no balance because music is life. So music is supposed to be negative because life is negative. Music is supposed to be positive because life is positive. Some music is just a party song. Some music is sit back and think music. Some music is sit back and just vibe out to and just zone out to music. Music is supposed to represent all 360 degrees of life. Here's the difference. Now, since the 1996 Telecommunications Act happened, what that did was it took independent on radio, small market radio out of it. When the small markets owned the radio stations, they had a responsibility to the listeners. If they played music listeners didn't like, no one just would listen. They would listen to the other station, and that would lower their ad dollars, and they would go out of business. So even though payola has always been around, the radio station still had to have some level of accountability to the town it was in. It had to play local artists. You know what I mean? Friday night was always here in LA. Friday night was always at the local artist breakdown night, you know, the mix down at 9 o'clock, you know, because there was a responsibility to the community that the radio stations represented. And Black radio has always been the nucleus in the center place where all Black radio or all Black music is popped off. It's always been through the radio stations. And the radio stations were always the guide as far as, they would get the response. If they played a hot song, a whole bunch of people called in, play that again. They play a song and ain't nobody calling in. Okay, that song ain't hot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The difference, what happened was when the 96 Telecommunications Act happened, what that did was it brought in conglomerates and corporations to radio. So now you have Clear Channel, Sinclair Media, radio, all these different, these 4 or 5 different media companies that also own cable networks, that also own bleach and soap and cars and everything else. So they can dump boatloads of money into this radio station and never return a profit and not care. So what that did was it made an incestuous relationship between the limited distribution artists, Sony, BMG, and those guys. So we're now basically there's 2 distribution lines majorly, and 5 radio stations for the most part, only nationwide. And they get to pick and choose what we like. And they have no responsibility to us. Because if we don't listen, they just dump more money into it from one of their other companies. They're not going to go out of business. And so that's what we're going through right now. They kick all the Black DJs off, like here in LA, and bring in a whole bunch of Mexicans. And you know what I mean? They take all the flavor away, but it doesn't matter because they have endless amounts of money to do so. So without the radio, without the people having some sort of say in radio play, and these radio companies, in like you got to go back. It's so many changes. The 1978 white paper report that took, the live instrumentation out of music and took the militancy out of Black music. Then you got to go to 91, 92 when they started taking like the militancy out of hip hop. And then you always got to look at the acquisitions of labels. Every time there's been a bunch of Black labels, 60s and the 70s, independent Black radio radio stations and record labels, we got to produce our own music, and the music was good. Late 70s, they start buying up all the Black-owned radio labels. 80s come out, mostly all Philadelphia International, Motown. They all got to get their distribution now through RCA. You know what I mean? They switched all that up. So by the time you get to the 80s, R&B is cheesy and corny, and a whole bunch of niggas and shags singing all this I want to get together soon music, but no militancy. So then hip-hop came out. Hip-hop came out, bring the militancy back. Black-owned labels. You got Uptown, you got Big Boy, Bad Boy, you got Death Row, you got all these different Black-owned radio labels, or you got Jerry Heller on label, but he didn't give a fuck, what was going on. You had us, again, creating a gambit of music. You had Too Short selling out the trunk, MC Hammer, wide variety when we up to it. Then 90s come, they start buying up all the Black labels. The 2000s hit, all the Black labels are bought up. The Black radio is being taken out by the time you get 2000 because of the 96 Telecommunications Act. So now they own radio, there's limited distribution, and all the Black radio labels are all bought up. So by the time you get to the early 2000s, they basically control everything. They get rid of the talent, they get rid of the musicality within the music, and they push bullshit. The 2000s was the fuckboy era of hip-hop. Spend your money, don't save on nothing, be a dickhead to women. Women, only thing niggas can do is pay your bills. And it became a whole fuckboy thing about 20 years ago. That's why I don't let nobody from my generation shit on today, because they really got that shit cracking with my generation, the millennial. Our music was bullshit. So now it's worse because there's so limited distribution. But here's the good thing, and this is what I want to say. I want to make sure I make it clear it's not all death, doom, and gloom. Spotify, iTunes, Tidal, these independent bands in town, all these independent music apps are bringing the real artists back. And if you read an article from the New York Times recently, only 5% of the music streamed is in the top 200. Only 5%. So we gotta know, even though they're pushing all the shit, pushing it, ain't nobody listening. And 70% of streams of music over the last year has been from music from the 70s, up from 61% 2 years ago. So it's trending upward. The youth And the people out there like, fuck this bullshit. We either gonna listen to independent artists or we gonna go back to music from the 70s. Ain't nobody playing this shit. So even though they have it all in front of our face, it's because they control all the means of distribution. They own the record labels, the media sites. You see all the blogs, all the hip hop blogs are owned by the same people now. They done bought the hip hop blogs. So we're getting like 5 people, 4 people to tell us everything we know about music, and it's a fucking lie. And we got to remember that.
Yeah. Now, but before we go, and thank you very much because you broke down a lot of history. I want to give a special thank you for the 1999 super chat from Rin 11B Airborne, FBA, and then that's the US flag B1. Just hearing this brother drop knowledge fills me with pride. Love us. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of pride in our music and our culture and everything. One thing that you brought up that I felt is a very interesting point is the fact that now with Spotify and Apple Music and even YouTube to a degree, people get to kind of pick and choose. People get to listen to what they want to listen to.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, even though you might have mainstream artists that you see who are constantly getting pushed on by the record labels, they tend to fall off often because people they might like a song or two, but people aren't really gravitating to them as an artist. So why do you feel that people are that music artists, they're hot for maybe 1 or 2 years, they're on top of the world in magazines and interviews, and then in the next couple years they just seem to fall off the face of the earth?
2 reasons. One, most time they don't even go for the most talented. They go for the person that they can control often. Because music is the biggest illusion. What you hear come out ain't what happened in that studio. You got artists that are punch rappers, where they got to rap 1 bar, punch, rap another bar, punch, rap another bar, punch. And the producer is putting everything together. You know what I mean? Wow. And it's the producer. And then you got to realize the MC, when it comes to rapping, that's why I don't get into all these MC raps, debates and all this shit, because people forget the most important part of the music is the music, not the MC. And here's how you check that. If it was about the MC, poetry will be just as hot as hip hop. We would know Tupac for his poems, we would know his poems word for word the same way we know Dear Mama. We would know Jill Scott's poems the same way we know her music. Gil Scott Heron had to put music. He had already done the revolution, but it wasn't until he put music with it that it popped off. It's the music that makes it happen. And we cannot forget that. So usually the most talented person in the studio is the producer, not the artist. The artist is an extension of what the producer put together. You got some artists who are already out there like that, and they're more in the past. But in today's world, they get I ain't talking about the people who make their own music. I'm talking about the ones who get a mainstream push. When you see them on every magazine, on every TV show, they get teamed with the right producers. The producers be the ones making the magic happen. Like with Iggy Azalea. It wasn't her. That was the producing teams, you know? So that's one of the major reasons why it's like that. And the other reason why it's like that is less talented people oftentimes getting pushed. And it's just that I forgot my second point. So that means I'm probably still on this main point right here. Usually it's the fact that and also the relationships. Because say when we are dealing with the talented people, when you're dealing with these labels, oftentimes it really just comes down to like who you got in your corner. You know what I mean? Who's fighting for you at the label? If your particular manager fell out of favor or got fired, or your contact, the person that made that was in charge of your deal, they got shuffled to a different department into somebody else, and they don't believe in your project like that. You know what I mean? But they believe in this person's project. And that's another thing. You don't have artists making the decisions. You got people in suits. People in suits don't know shit. The people in suits just want you to copy the last thing somebody else did. So oftentimes you'll get somebody who they were really good, but the label said, no, we want you to sound like that guy because he had a hit 6 months ago. And so that person ends up sounding like someone else, and they ain't nothing like how they sound. They get a hit, and then the next album come, that person that made that decision is gone from the label. It's somebody new coming in, like, and now you got to redefine your sound. Now you try to go back to how you really sound. Now the audience is like, you ain't keeping it real. He been fake. He done fell off because the audience, the music listener now has been very, I don't want to insult people, but the listener's been dumbed down. Not blaming the listener. That's the people, the powers that be that control the power. 85% of people who listen to music just gonna listen to what they hear. It's not a few people. A lot of people ain't gonna go digging through the crates. Most people just gonna listen to what comes on. So they purposely dumb down the music. So the people are victims of their decisions. So I'm not casting aspersions on people. But what I am saying is the listener's been dumbed down because the listener's gonna take whatever that gets pushed. How many times have you heard a song that when it first came out, you couldn't stand that motherfucker? But 2 months later, because it keeps getting played, you kind of like,
yeah, that's happened. That's happened. Like, yeah, it's not as bad as I thought it was at first, you know.
Because music is a prayer. Music is a chant. And it's a vibration. So if you get it long enough, you don't have to like it. It's once it starts syncing with you. But we've taken the live drums out, the heartbeat. We've taken the strings out, the emotion. We've taken the horns out, the fire. We've taken the live piano out and the harp and those type instruments and the water. Because remember, all music represents the 4 elements of the universe: earth, air, water, and fire. And that's what the instruments represent. And that's what breathes the life into you, the movement. They brought in quantization. When you quantize music, you box yourself in. Everything's right on time and synchronized. Life ain't synchronized. How many times you wake up with plans and something else happen? How many times you get overfilled with joy, you feel your emotions swelling, and then or something happens and then you deflate. That's what music is supposed to do. You're supposed to have crescendos, decrescendos. You're supposed to have retards, and you're supposed to have background singers and all this, and because that feeds you, like it feeds your heart and your soul. They took that shit out and they took it out 40 years ago. This didn't just start. This just started 40 years ago, instrument by instrument, layer by layer, piece by piece. Layers got taken out the music. So now 40 years later, we've been conditioned to all this plastic music and shit. And so now, since we're so conditioned to this plastic music, they can kind of go throw anything out there near the catch. You know, they couldn't, Cardi B couldn't exist 30 years ago. Rihanna, there's no way Rihanna could have come out singing some L-I-L-I-E, sounding like she quoting the alphabet. She could have done that back in 1985. Man, shit. Vesta would have blew her through the water. But they had to slowly dumb down, and slowly in the 80s, they took the instrumentation away, but they still had power singers. Then when the 90s hit, you know, they start taking the power singers away. They give us Mary, no disrespect to Mary, you know, and you had singers like Faith who could sing power, but Bad Boy fucked her career off and had her singing whatever. You know what I mean? And you had the whole whisper era of the late 90s. You even had Mariah Carey with that great voice whispering by the time we got to 1997. And then from the whisper era of the late 90s, early 2000s, you get the immigrant era of the late 2000s with Estelle and Rihanna and these people who really can't do R&B. But R&B had been slowly dumbed down at that point for 30 years. So it took 30 years for us to get somebody as bad of a quality as singer as Rihanna. It didn't happen overnight. So why am I saying all that? I'm saying all that. That's part of my education effort when it comes to teaching the music, to really point us back into what it really is. Not to say I'm better or they're worse. It's just that there was a time that Black people did our music uninterrupted. And I'm going to go back to the time those white folks weren't in the studio telling us what to do, to trace us back to the last time we did our music right. Because once Clive Davis came around, once Jimmy Iovine came around, our music suddenly, hip-hop was all this militancy. Then here come, they put Jimmy Iovine in the goddamn Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All of a sudden when he come around, you know, where did he come from? Where did Clive Davis come from? How did he have the power to sign Whitney Houston? Who, like, and I know he was like, how did he get that? Like, we got to ask these questions. When they come around and they get control of our music, something always happens. So like that's why I always point people back to the 70s, because that was the last time we were in the studio uninterrupted. Or when it comes to hip hop, the early 90s.
Mhm. Well, but before we continue, I want to give a special shout out to Jay the Informant for the $2 super chat. Um, Island Boys were trash. He says Island Boys were trash and displayed everywhere. That's a good point. That is a good point. That was always my opinion. Um, and it seemed like they got this huge big push. Now let
Yeah.
me ask you, why do you if their music and the artists don't have longevity like that, if their songs are cool for maybe the summer and then next summer nobody listens to them anymore, and the artists seem to fall off and nobody pays attention to them anymore, why do you think that is such a why do you think they invest so much into putting this in our face? Why do you think they invest so much into these artists? Is there like some type of secret agenda, do you feel, behind this?
Yeah, like that's the thing. They don't invest a whole lot because that's the second point I wanted to make. I'm glad you brought that up because that was you went right into what my second point was going to be. There's no more artist development. You know, Rick James had like 5 albums before his first album hit real big. You know, it took Earth and Fire. They did 6. They did like 6 albums before That's the Way of the World took them off. Parliament. They were a doo-wop group in the 50s. They wrote from Motown in the 60s. They didn't really take off like that to the early 70s. Like, it really takes time, you know what I mean, to develop an artist. And what it is, they don't do the art. The reason why artists fall off so fast because they don't put the money and invest in them. You got to really get invested in to be an artist. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of. Marvin Gaye was the drummer for Motown. He worked his way up. You know what I mean? And you gotta know that, and I mean, and they know that. So it's the corporate mindset versus the artist mindset. See, when music is done right, when it was done right, you had the artists making the decisions. Gamble and Huff for artists at Philadelphia International. Even on the white side, A&M Records, Herb Alpert. You had the artists that understood the longevity, what it took to make a long career. With the corporate mindset, they're less concerned about the long career. They're more concerned about the profit. What profit can I make next quarter? And it's like they had a whole pump and dump ideology. Let's just sign, because them white people don't know what the difference between good and bad music is. They don't know. So they sign 20 niggas to a development deal, to some kind of deal. They give them all a bonus somewhere between $50,000 and $2 million, depending on what they negotiate. You can get $2 million if you know how to negotiate. You know what I mean? You get anywhere from $50,000 to $2 million on what you negotiate, and they give about 10 different people, 20 different artists these type deals, and they put them in there with the producers, and then they put the music out there, and basically they make the artists push themselves. They don't really even break artists no more. They're going to see which one got the most hustle, and whichever one of them got the most hustle, that's pushing themselves, that's gotten their own following, then they'll be like, okay, that one there looks like, you know, he got something over there. Let's push that. And they'll push it, and that one song will make enough money to pay for all them other 20 contracts that didn't pay for anything. You know what I mean? He don't know shit because we took all of his, he signed all of his rights away. We're going to get 25% of whatever he makes for the rest of his life, even if he doesn't stay with us. So we got this artist by the balls, whether or not his music career works. If he does reality TV, we're going to get a piece of that. You know, that's how that's how these new contracts are. And that one hit pay for all the 20 other artists that didn't, and they dump them and move to the next nigga. That's the corporate mindset. It's a conveyor belt. It's a chain thing, and that's why the music sucks. And they don't pay for production. That's another thing. Music costs money. That's why R&B is dead. Not what more radio play R&B. I want to make it very clear. Radio play R&B is dead. Real R&B is still alive. Radio play R&B is dead because of that. Because if you're gonna put together a real R&B song, see, it's not dead when Adele gets it. You know what I mean? Adele still gets string arrangements, horns, composers. She still gets the full gamut. R&B, that's a lot of money to pay live drummers, live bass player, live rhythm section, live horns, live background singer, live 62-piece string arrangement. That's a lot of money. to dump to dump into music, or I could pay this one beat maker, a couple 20, 30 grand to put together a beat on his MPC. And so music has got, that's the whole point. They don't invest a lot into it. They invest minimal into it. They get a whole bunch of shit, throw it all against the wall, see what shit is sticking, put some money in that shit, make some money off of it. And if he could do it again, great. And if he can't, then fuck it, on to the next one. The only people they really, 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 really push are your Cardi B's, your Lil Nas X's. These people where did he come from? What church did he play music in? They used to get people from the church. Cardi B, she was on reality TV. She already had a fan base. You know what I mean? So that's easy. She already has a fan base. Let's put her with the hottest producers and let's punch her raps in. You know what I mean? Make her sound good, because again, the producers, the real 90% of the time, the producers, the real talent in the room. And let's put her with some hot producers and let's throw this out there, because this corrupt fraud is going to push an agenda that we want later on down the line. So it's those two scenarios.
Okay. That's a good point you make. And I find that very interesting, because a lot of people are saying that a lot of artists nowadays, they're not even really artists. They're really just performers, and they're just performing music that the producers make or that the label makes, and they are just kind of just performing that. And I find interesting you brought up Rihanna, you brought up Cardi B. I'm not exactly sure where Lil Nas X is from, but we've been seeing as of recently there's been a lot of push, and even with Iggy Azalea, there's been a lot of push of foreign artists who have come and really kind of infiltrated our music genre, specifically hip hop. Why do you think that that is, and why do you feel like that's significant?
Because white folks know that they, no disrespect. I don't want to disrespect white people. I want to come out like that. But at the end of the day, they know they ain't got no talent, and Eminem is a once in a lifetime thing. And they push that fraud up on us. Eminem is, if he was black, he'd be a C-rated rapper. Y'all wouldn't put his name next to Ludacris if he was black. No. You know what I mean? But since he's white, he gets pushed to the top. He gets pushed past MC8 and CeeLo, and he gets pushed past Big Daddy Kane. He gets pushed past 3000 because he's white. You know what I mean? And black folks are always looking for a white person to praise and shit. So, but again, they've been trying for 20 plus years to get another C-rated white rapper. C-rated white rappers don't come around. So it's like, okay, we can't let these niggas hold on to this shit. So what can we do? What's the next best thing? Let's get these black looking people who still ain't as good as the black people, and let's push them out front and give them the music. And in 2 generations or in 1 generation, we'll take it from them dumb motherfuckers because they think they white. That's how, I look at it as, I look at it the same way I look at basketball. Sometimes when I coach basketball, when I'm attacking, when I'm designing an offense, and I bring my forward high to run high screen and roll, and the defense hedges on that, and they cover the high screen and roll. Instead of running and forcing the play, sometimes you gotta take a step back, reset the play, and that's what they're doing. They've been trying to force white artists through Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, to all the different white artists and Kid Rock, but Kid Rock stopped doing rap and went into country music. You know what I mean? So the few talented white ones, they realize it just ain't enough talented white people to take this thing now. So let's reset the play. Let's back up. We still got 14 seconds left on the shot clock, and let's go ahead and let's put these immigrants' face on it, because they ain't done shit. So they'll be all too willing to accept it. They don't like these niggas anyway. So then they look like these niggas, and they don't like these niggas. So let's give it to them. They'll gladly accept. They don't have to be prideful or on their own as far as musically, and we'll give it to them. And they love us so much. As soon as we come taking it back from them in about 15, 20 years, they'll gladly give it to us. So that's what this is. And because, think about it, like R&B, our music, in hip hop, it evokes an emotion. It's an emotion. And when it comes to singing, when you listen to these foreign singers, and you put them next to our singers, it's not. I was at the Hollywood Bowl this past summer, and they had Black Movie Night. That's something that they do at the Hollywood Bowl every 3 or 4 years. And on Black Movie Night, they have a live orchestra, live band, and it's directed by Reginald Hudlin. And they play movie scenes from different Black movies, and they usually have the artists from that scene come out and sing it, from that song, sing it. So on one night, you'll see 10 or 15 of your favorite artists. And, Charlie Wilson came out and sang some songs. Gladys Knight came out and sang. This year, Gladys Knight didn't sing this past one. But this past show, it was a lot of really good singers that came out. They all had big names. Babyface came out. A lot of great singers. Johnny Gill came out. And I'm forgetting all the names, but it's way more legendary names that came out. And then Jennifer Holliday came out. Mind you, a lot of people don't remember who Jennifer Holliday is. She sang that song, And I Am Telling You. And despite all the great artists that came out, Kid and Play came out and rapped. All these legends that have way big names came out. But when she came out and sang And I Am Telling You, and she still sounds like she sounded when she recorded that song 40 years ago, and she brought those vocals. When I tell you the Hollywood Bowl, I've never seen, and I go to the Hollywood Bowl probably 10 to 15 times a summer. And I've been doing that since college, 20 years. I ain't never seen 18,000 people stand up like that. Why? That Black woman brought that soul that only Black women can bring. And it was a moment to where, despite all of the stars that were there, she got 3 standing ovations.
Wow.
3. And she was a so-called one-hit wonder. And they didn't want to release the song when they dropped it because they felt it was too powerful for a Black woman to sing. See, what happens is when our real Black women do that shit and sing it like that and do it like that, we can't give her another hit. Let's take her from that hot producer, put that, who was that producer that did that song with that Black girl? All right, put her with Madonna. Put her with Adele. Put that producer with them. And don't let that Black person get with that producer, because last thing we need is these niggas evoking their magic through music. So what's the solution to that? Well, these niggas love R&B, and R&B, if you ask me, is still bigger than hip hop. It's just, if you people they keep trying to other hip hop away from us and say it's Black. They try to make it seem like that's the only thing that we created, and it's not. But they're othering it right now. No, we still own R&B too, because K-pop is the biggest sound on the planet right now. That's 90s R&B fired up in the wok. It's still our shit. You know what I mean? Adele's gonna outsell any rapper all day. That's our music. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. R&B is still the biggest form of music on the planet. Make no mistake about it.
It's in all the songs, movies and TV shows and all.
It's R&B, not hip hop. Hip hop is them trying to jerk us off, other it, and then take it 20 years from now. It's still R&B. But you can't have us doing it. But the only way you can have other people, K-pop, Adele, and all these motherfuckers, the only way Rihanna, the only way they can be successful at it is if you leave Stephanie Mills out of the conversation. Don't let Stephanie Mills record with a hot producer. And she still got her voice. Don't let, I heard a song, I was over a couple weeks ago, I was over Evan Ross's house, Diana Ross's son. I was over his house. And he played some music from his mom. She's 78 years old. And when I tell you that Diana Ross, that woman's voice sounded like it did in 1968. But what happens when you put R&B, our best producers with our best singers, it wakes us up. It does something to our bones. So you can't have that, but you can't get rid of the sound either. So what do? You lie through omission like these crackers always do. I'm not going to even I'm going to tell you Rihanna's the greatest and not even mention we still got Shantae Moore out there, Toni Braxton, these goddesses of music, and can't get a good deal with a good producer. And all these producers are teamed with these crackers and shit and these foreign Black people because they got to have our sound, but they can't have us. so Rihanna gets the benefit. Long answer, but I like to be thorough.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Now, a lot of people are saying that's really what entertainment is nowadays. Not with because you mentioned sports as well too. They don't necessarily look for the best. They look for the top of what they can completely control and use for their agenda. Because the best won't go with their agenda. So they're looking at the best for what they want in their agenda. Because if they, like you said, if they were to put our best with the best type of producers, it would create music, beautiful music. And one of the things that a lot of people fear is that that would become revolutionary. And a lot of our, as far as FBA history, a lot of our history is about revolution, and a lot of our music is about, resistance and revolution. So do you feel like that is something that they fear, our music becoming revolutionary or conscious or motivational to
Yeah,
kind of
like
change the direction?
yeah, the FBI had to admit to tracking Aretha Franklin. You know what I mean?
Mm.
The death. There's a book here. This is a good book to read. Came out in 1988. Death of R&B by Nelson George. He talks a lot about what they were doing in the 60s and the 70s to sabotage our music, to sabotage, and going back to the 40s, to sabotage us in radio. Another good book to read is Segregated Sounds. This is another good book to read, talking about, how our sounds are created in segregation. But when you read these books, and like different, I don't have any more books. Okay, I don't have the back. I'll like read that, and then you read the biographies of artists from back then. Like read the biographies of of Muddy Waters and all, and because in these biographies that you get of Maurice White and different artists, Quincy Jones, you get a context of the times that they were in and what shaped it. And so what you find is they've always tried to have their hands in our music. It's like every couple of decades, they really get a good straight on hold on our music. And then technology changes, or we change sounds or something, and we break free. And then they get a hold of it, and then we break free. Then they get a hold of it, and we break free. It's always been a constant back and forth of them trying to get a hold of our music, sabotage it, but we just create something new and we break free because we some cold motherfuckers like that. That's how it was. That jazz was that devil music, you know what I mean? And then so when swing came, swing made it popular for everybody. White people like swing, swing made it, everybody's going to swing dance. And then that boy Burden Parker and Max Roach came out with bebop. Bebop said, we tired of white people taking our music. So we're going to make our music so complicated, so sophisticated that they can't keep up. Until this day, they try to act like bebop didn't exist. You know what I mean? Because they never could do it. That was us breaking out of the controls that they put on us. And then when you get to the 50s, you got the R&B thing. You know what I mean? You got R&B breaking out, but they're trying to draw that schism between R&B and rock and roll. And they're pressing the Chuck Berrys and the Fats Dominoes, the one that play more of a fast-paced style that white people like. It's still black music. You know what I mean? But white people like our music a little faster. So they pushed them and they tried to bury and kill off the R&B guys. And then in the 50s, you start seeing all these in the late 40s, you start seeing all these independent labels coming up and independent radio stations. And then so by the time the 50s come, the music's getting cheesy again. It's kind of getting but by the late 50s, these labels are established, these radio stations are established, and they kick these crackers out again. We get Motown, you get VJ Records, you get these black-owned radio stations and these black-owned labels. In the 60s, we started having it being independent again. We kicked them off our back. And then they said, okay, in the 70s, what are we going to do? And so they came up with something called the White Paper Report in the 70s. And what that did was it said, we got to take the militancy out the music and we got to take the live instrumentation out. And they did it. But they did it real slowly, year by year, decade by decade. It was the plan, the White Paper Report was a plan to get in control of black music by the year 2000. That's how far ahead they think. And then when the 90s and the 80s came, boom, hip-hop. We bust out their bullshit again. Hip-hop is here. You know what I mean? 90s, they get a slow control of hip-hop, and they've been having control of it for the last 20, 25 years. and then boom, the internet happened. Now you got bands and you got Bandcamp, and you got all SoundCloud, you got all this shit. So right now we're in the middle of a revolution. That's all I want to point out, that we have revolted. You got La Russell out there that ain't giving a fuck, going on Instagram and throwing shows in his backyard. La Russell created his own app to buy his tickets. He got his own merch line that his dad presses in the backyard. His mom books his events. You know what I mean? And this is a whole family affair. And this young man goes around the country selling out shit all the goddamn time. You got people like Tech Nine, who's always been around for I don't know how long. So we always have these people. So right now we're in a time that it's not just one Tech Nine. It's a lot of cats out there. And I be meeting with some of these cats on my other show on Caffeine. And these cats got 2 and 3 million subscribers, you know, or a few 100,000 subscribers. They're selling 100,000 records. You know what I mean? Every time they sell them, people actually buying their records because they're building a fan base that loves them. So yes, the music's on Spotify, but their fan base is still actually buying their vinyl albums. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I was at the Robert Glasper concert this past Thursday. Jazz, Kamasi Washington, Terrace Martin, and these cats are jazz musicians. The event was sold out. They won't tell you that live R&B and jazz is selling out, and these are all black artists. But they'll tell you jazz is dead. White people got it now. No, Kamasi Washington owns jazz from Inglewood, California. You know what I mean? And these events are selling out. And so what's happening is we're in a period to where, although we do see what's going on the radio, we have busted back out. Our music, my man Jarris Mosey, Corey Henry. I'm going to go see Corey Henry tomorrow night. He gonna be with most people, black, and that's nothing. Others know our music. The thing is, black people got to fall back in love with our music. Because when I go see Corey Henry and all these, be white people there. You know what I mean? It'd be black people there too, but it'd be a whole lot of them. I wish it'd be more of us. And for people saying, "Oh, you on the West Coast?" No, I've seen the same pattern when I've gone to the East Coast and seen these guys too. I travel. So I mean, like tomorrow I'm gonna see Corey Henry, Terrace Martin, Charlie Burrell, Jarris Mosey, my man J-Mo. I have an interview with him on my channel. Man, he wrote "Giving You the Best of Me" by Anthony Hamilton. He just won a Grammy last year with Jasmine Sullivan. He won one with Anderson .Paak. He's won written stuff with Erykah Badu, Jill Scott. Black man, when he went to high school here in Long Beach, when he was in high school, Prince used to pick him up in his limo and drive him to his house in Beverly Hills to jam after school. Like, that's how bad this motherfucker is. And most black, and he has his whole hippie soul genre, and it's so dope and it's so unique. But we gotta find these people because they out there, and the real music is out there. I just think we too preoccupied with what these crackers are doing. Fuck these crackers. It's black people out there making some dope ass music. We gotta find these niggas because the young people are finding them. Us old niggas like me in my 40s, we gotta find them.
That's a pretty great idea. And I'm not sure if he's still in the room. My brother Sage, he does music independently. Oh yeah, Sage is in here. And I did an interview with him. I'm gonna put that in the comment section below after I edit all of this stuff out, because we do have a lot of black artists, and one of the good things that I like about it is that a lot of our black artists, they have a sense of consciousness and a sense of empowerment and respect for the culture that a lot of the mainstream artists don't have. So that's why I like to use my platform to try to help promote their art, help promote their platforms, and help get them out there for the people, because you'll see the big artists, Drake and all of them, and no disrespect, but you'll see them all over billboards and all that stuff, and then you'll see an artist who works very hard, legit, for their art, and they don't get a lot of the streams, they don't get a lot of the ad revenue. So it is very important that we do that. So let me ask you, if somebody was to, like, let's say they wanted to be an upcoming artist, but they wanted to be independent, they don't want any tampering with their music, what suggestions would you give them, or what type of advice would you give them?
Just find your audience. You know what I mean? I just saw you. I didn't know you had a channel. I just clicked over and saw it. I thought someone said that some of them don't want to be found. No, all artists do want to be found, and they want to stay pure. That's how you do it. They want to be found, but they just don't want to be on a label that's going to control them. So it takes them getting themselves out there, and they got to make sure it's a hustle. You know what I mean? It ain't easy, but it's a hustle. But it's easier now than when Too Short did it. Too Short had to sell out of his trunk. You know what I mean? Sure. Too Short used to go around town rapping rhymes, coming up on the people that was the pimps and playing hustles on the block, and be like, "Look, I'm gonna do a rap." And then he did a rap. He would do raps and use the names of the local hustlers. And the word got around. This little rapper going around using people like calling out claiming blocks for people. I want to tape 2 with my name on it, and he created a whole hustle. MC Hammer hustle, NWA hustle. I mean, what's his name? Master P hustle. So it's just like they had to hustle. You got to hustle too. Like it's not gonna be easy. It's a lot of voices out there. You got to hustle. So if your artist is part artistry, part hustle, and if you can't hustle, have a friend that can. Sometimes, because most artists are real reserved. Most artists are shy and kind of corny. You know what I mean? That's where my suggestion to those, which is the majority. You have a friend that's an advocate, have them be the person that pushes your stuff until you can hire a social media manager. You know what I mean? But really get some people and team with people. Sometimes you may just want to be an artist and I know me. It's hard. Like for me, that was one of my biggest issues in comedy when I was doing comedy a lot. I didn't like really getting out there like that. I was at a show the other night with Earthquake, and I remember when I had my show at the Comedy Union. My show was on Monday night. Earthquake show was on Wednesday night. And I was a new comic, and I had only been doing comedy for about 1.5 years at that time. And the owner of the comedy club expected me basically to sell as many tickets as Earthquake. I'm like, nigga, I grew up watching Earthquake. How can I sell as many tickets as him? But I wanted the night, so what did I do? I got out and hustled. And me personally, I don't like talking to people I don't know. I know it sounds different because the internet, this is cool, but like, if I don't know you in person, I don't want to talk to you. I like talking to my friends. I don't like talking to people I don't know. So I had people who thought I was funny, who believed in me. They would put out the word for me when I had that night. You know what I mean? I would get other comics. You bring this many people, I'll give you this much stage time. I would do different things because I didn't necessarily like I'm an artist. I like getting on stage and telling jokes. Everything else I fucking hate. You know what I mean? I hate. I did a show like this last week, and it was so much fun on stage. Because once I'm on stage, I turn on, and I don't write my jokes. I never have written jokes. I just know how to make people laugh when them lights turn on. It's on. But everything else I hate. I hate everything else. So the comedy suffered for it. And all my friends, I'm watching my man London on that show, or that 50 Cent show, Raising Canaan. And I'm watching my man Big Ja blow up the internet. My homegirl Daphne and these Kamira and rest in peace Teddy Ray. I remember when Teddy first got on stage, I used to always troll that little nigga, man. I'm saying these is my people is blowing up all around me. Tony Baker. I remember when I started just after Tony Baker. And I see Tony Baker 5 nights a week. You know what I mean? All these people who are out there, we are from the same crew of people. But some of them cats had a certain hustle and other ones didn't. And I was in the one that didn't. So even though when we all on the same show, I'm getting the same laughs as everyone else, the people with the hustle are the ones that got pushed out. So people like me, so I had to learn that lesson in comedy to where when I finally came on the internet and I started focusing on pushing my YouTube channel, June 2020, I had to learn the lessons of being meek, being quiet, being humble, sitting in the back, not pushing myself, not putting myself out there, getting mad like, why is this person on show and not me, and all that bullshit. You learn if you want to make it, if you're going to do it, whether it's in podcasting, comedy, music, it's all the same thing. You got to hustle. I got lights dropping and shit. It turns into a business, and you got to make this shit your business. And so I didn't start. All my friends were on the internet 10 years ago. I was just on the internet cracking jokes on Facebook, out on Twitter. I wasn't focused. I'm trying to push this shit. This is someone to have fun. But all my friends that did it, I look, some of my friends is millionaires now with this internet thing. So I realized when I took YouTube serious, June 2020, I had five YouTube subscribers. June 2020. Now I'm like coming up on 15,000, and still with no real mainstream push. But that came down to make every podcast that I see, I'm there. You know what I mean? I'll be driving all throughout this town. People be seeing me on podcasts. I'm in my house now, but I'm up 5 a.m. Just a 25-mile drive to Hollywood Hills to Runyon Canyon for my workout. 6 a.m. Back home, and I gotta fight rush hour traffic 25 miles back home to be here by 8 a.m. Do some shit with my businesses, go live on YouTube at 10 o'clock, shut that shit down at 12, do some more shit, then go do another podcast way out in Pasadena. That's a 35-mile drive for me, and I got to go during rush hour, do that podcast, come back, do some more shit, manage my apartment buildings, and then it'll be somebody else's thing, and I'm up until 2, sometimes 1, 2 in the morning. My music, incense, and ashtrays can't suffer, so I'm at concerts. I'm always around the music, so I gotta hustle because people trust me now when it comes to my music talk. So now I really gotta be in the environment, and I'll be out there working that shit. So if you ain't out there working it, because and let me say this to close it off this point. Even if you're signed to a major, they only fuck with the artists that work it. You can have the best deal. If they see you tricking off your time in a club and bullshitting, the label ain't fucking with you. You got that 5-album deal, and you may be lucky if you get 2 albums out, and they gonna own you the rest of your life. Because they see your ass ain't hustling. The labels only fuck with people who hustling. So the key word is hustle. And if you can't be the voice, make enough money to hire somebody who can.
Absolutely. I want to give a special shout out to Derek for the $10 super chat. He says, keep putting out great content, Brother Afro. Thank you very much. I definitely will. Shout out to Dwann B. Like I said, his information, his Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube links are in the description below. Thank you guys, everybody, for watching, and everybody who liked and who shared and all of what you guys do. Now, you brought up a good point when it comes to work, because work, dedication, and hard work, that is what builds the respect that we have. Like, for instance, Michael Jackson, us, as far as FBA, really as far as the world is concerned, we all have such respect and love for Michael Jackson because we knew that Michael Jackson took his craft very, very seriously. Every dance rehearsal, every music video, every song, the audio, he took it very seriously, and he put 110% into it. He wasn't, from a little kid, he wasn't for shortcuts or anything like that. In compares to how you have now you have a whole bunch of Tekashi 6ix9ines who just do gimmicks to kind of get put on, or strippers who do gimmicks to kind of just get put on. So you make a very excellent point when it comes to the work you put in. What you put in is what you're going to receive, and we're seeing that with a lot of up and coming artists, a lot of the independent artists.
Yeah, we're seeing that they really put in work. I remember Anderson .Paak was a little short, big teeth nigga named Breezy Lovejoy 10 years ago. I used to be out on my just out again. It's long before I thought about doing any kind of music history. Nothing. I just always loved music, so I'll be out at the World Stage Theater here in Leimert Park. I'll be at the piano bar. I'll be at the Softail, the different live music spots around town. And I remember I would every now and again run across this little goofy looking nigga named Breezy Lovejoy. You know, the Fight Club in Long Beach, places like that. He was always out there. You know what I mean, when I see, the sound behind Kendrick Lamar, Terrace Martin, Kamasi Washington, we all around the same age. We all grew up in the Crenshaw district together. Like, I remember I mostly played at church, but those cats was always at the World Stage Theater doing something. You know what I mean? I wasn't part of that grind. I was just in the environment. I was just in the same neighborhood. And they were always doing something. Then Snoop picked them up and took them on tour. You know, Thundercat and all these guys. I remember when they were with the Polyester Players here in LA. You know what I mean? These older cats. And these were the young musician cats. You saw these niggas everywhere. So when To Pimp a Butterfly dropped and people heard that new sound that Kendrick dropped in the album, was like, where did these guys come from? I remember Nipsey. I used to run across Nipsey. I never was a fan of, I wasn't a fan of his music like that. You know what I mean? But I still buy his stuff because I'm more into I'm more of the R&B side of the game. You know what I mean? And I like hip hop too. But Nipsey wasn't my flavor. But I used to see Nipsey on Slauson and Overhill, Stalker and Overhill all the time selling his tapes. I'd be coming home from the gym sweaty. Just after playing basketball, Nipsey on the corner selling his tapes. I go to Sashi Teriyaki House on Slauson and Overhill. I go to Yee's on Slauson and Angeles Vista. I go to Woody's on Slauson and Crenshaw. I'm always seeing this nigga. So I started buying his stuff. Not because I wanted to listen to it, but because he was always out here hustling. You know what I mean? You always saw Nipsey was a part of the neighborhood. You know what I mean? That when they say neighborhood Nips, well, that's a double entendre because you got the neighborhood Crip and the Overhill Crips. So neighborhood Crip because but really neighborhood also more so because you always saw this dude around the neighborhood. You always saw Nipsey. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so it's a certain hustle. You gotta have that hustle. And if you don't have that hustle, you know you good, but if you don't put yourself out there, like every break that I've gotten, I've been getting a lot of breaks recently. A lot of the cats that have been really looking out for me. It wasn't until so many people knew who I was before I started going on YouTube and putting myself out there. I was around, but I'm an artist. I would just perform and leave. When they saw me putting myself out there on the internet, that's what made, doing my show and pushing myself. That's what made Corey be like, man, Dwann, come on, 5150. You know what I mean? It wasn't until after. It wasn't like, people want you, when you pushing your car, that's when other people come to help push your car. But if you just sitting on the side with the hazards on, everybody gonna keep driving along too. It's when they see you out there hustling and doing it, that's when motherfuckers come along to help, and not a moment before.
Absolutely. That's 100% correct. Real recognize real, and nobody's gonna a real person who's really there who could help you is not gonna do that if they see that you're not really going to put in the effort that you need to be putting in for your own sake, for your own craft.
Yep.
So that's very important messaging right there. Let me ask you another question. This is I've seen you have this conversation on your YouTube channel, and shout out to your YouTube channel. So I don't know if this was like a real thing. I saw it on the internet briefly, but they were talking about, and this will be the last thing. I know you've been very gracious with your time, but I really want you to speak on this. Someone said that Bob Marley was bigger than Michael Jackson, and I know the audience wants to hear your take on that. And this is, so you all know, this is no disrespect to Bob Marley, but I just want to hear our brother Dwann's take on that.
That goes back to the whole Eminem thing. When people outside of our culture,
excuse me, can I give a shout out to the super chat from Cyberdyne, that $10 super chat from Cyberdyne Afro Elite. Thank you very much, Cyberdyne. I appreciate your support. You can keep going. I didn't want to forget.
Dope. So here's what I gotta say about that. It goes back to the Eminem thing we talked about earlier. This is true not just for white people, but really for all non-black people. When they get someone that's at the top of what their thing is, and they can be next to our C and B rated artists, now all of a sudden they're the greatest of all time. Look, black people don't have this, and this is where we go wrong as black people. This is where we got to change. This is how we'll thwart any of these future arguments. We have to get out of this European mindset of a GOAT, a greatest. Only one can be like that. That's some Eurocentric shit. That's not us. We see things in pantheons. We see things in tiers. You have your top tier. You have legions of great. You have a pantheon of greats. And Michael and black people, like, and I get the Michael Jackson argument being the greatest. I would never argue against people because I don't believe in arguing. But did Michael Jackson do for music what Count Basie did? No. Did he do what Stevie Wonder did for music? Musically, Stevie Wonder, actually, as far as the music goes, probably contributed more than Michael Jackson. Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy Gillespie created a whole genre. He not only created bebop, which the culture of bebop, hip hop is a spinoff of the culture of bebop. He created salsa. He created bossa nova. He created all those Latin jazz songs was Dizzy Gillespie. Miles Davis, he not only created, he couldn't really stick with Dizzy when it came to bebop, so he came out here to LA and created Birth of the Cool, 1950, a whole new genre of music that's still around today, cool jazz. That all started with Birth of the Cool by Miles Davis. And then when he got to the mid-60s, he created the modal form of jazz with a lot of his work with John Coltrane, which is still around and relevant today. And then we get to 1970, he created the fusion jazz through Bitches Brew, which is still today, around today, the fusion style. All is still, in the jazz world, all three genres are still majorly played now. And then we get to the early 80s, he dropped Tutu and created the more so jazz cover tune over the electric sound. So Miles Davis created 4 major wrinkles in time when it comes to music. Why am I saying all that? Bob Marley benefits from Johnny Nash going down to Jamaica and opening up a record label because Jamaicans couldn't do it didn't do it for themselves. Reggae is a spinoff of R&B, and Johnny Nash goes down to Jamaica and creates a sound, and he signs the Wailers to their first deal, and he gets the Wailers, later Bob Marley, known worldwide. Did Bob Marley create more? Did he give more to music than Chuck Berry, Fats Waller? We know about Fats Domino, but do we know about Fats Waller and his stride piano sound and his sound that became the basis for what will become R&B? What I'm saying is this: black people, we have a pantheon of greats, and to say this one's greater than that one would be to say, okay, what's the most important leaf in a bag of tea? Is it this leaf or is it that leaf, or is it the tea leaf, the tea bag altogether? So we have to get out of this mindset of there's only one. There isn't only one. Michael Jackson's probably the greatest, one of the greatest entertainers, but is people, if you were born in 1948, if you're living in the 50s, you'd probably said Jackie Wilson. Jackie Wilson used to jump off, do a front flip, do the splits, and get back up. And he inspired James Brown. Is it the Nicholas brothers, Sammy Davis Jr., James Brown? James Brown only danced just as good.
He was very powerful and influential.
Yeah, created funk. And so we have a pantheon of greats. And when we start to, same thing with the hip-hop conversation, if we stop this fucking top 5 debate, there ain't no goddamn top 5. How do I feel right now? That's my top 5. I can't even listen to 5 artists at once. I can only listen to one. Fucking shit up over here. I can't listen to 5 artists. I can only listen to one. So my top 5, okay, I'm listening to Outkast now. And when Humble Mumble is over in 5 minutes, I'm gonna listen to Ice Cube. And then when Cave Bitch is over in 5 minutes, I'm listening to Snoop Dogg. And when the Blue Carpet Treatment is over and Crazy is over in 6 minutes, I'm gonna listen to Nas. And then when Sly Fox is over in 3 minutes, I'm gonna listen. Why we had these stupid ass arguments? We got a pantheon of greats. Why am I saying this? When we had these dumbass arguments, it gives other people the license to come in and say, well, mine is the greatest too. When no, because if we looked at our greats as a pantheon of greats versus one, this is how we would have responded to that answer to that when she said Bob Marley's more influential than Michael Jackson. We would have been like, Well, the biggest selling reggae song of the 70s was Master Blaster Jammin' by Stevie Wonder. You know, like, is Bob Marley more influential than Stevie Wonder? Stevie Wonder's music, Songs in the Key of Life, that's probably the greatest album ever written. If you want to know about life, listen to Songs in the Key of Life. Inner Visions? Without Inner Visions, does Bob Marley even exist? Well, I mean, Maurice White, Earth and Fire? I mean, and what they gave the world is still giving the world spiritually in their music. Parliament Funkadelic. George, we'd have been like, Bob Marley got like he got about 200 niggas to get through before we get to Michael Jackson, bruh. But we didn't have that response because we always want to put one nigga at the top like the Europeans do and shit on every other nigga because he ain't the one at the top. Basketball fans do it with Michael Jordan and LeBron. Music fans do it with the bullshit ass top 5 arguments. And that's some poison we need to stop because it's bullshit. Because people act like you only gonna listen to one artist all go. If you were stuck on the island, you can only hear one album. I'm not gonna be stuck on the island, fool. I'm listening to all this shit. They're all great. And we gotta see it that way.
You make a great point. Before I touch on that, I want to give a shout out to Tell It Like It Is for the $9.99 super chat. Stevie Wonder made nothing but hits, and that's absolutely correct. And I'm glad that you brought that up, brother Dwann, because the way we express it, music is an art. And how can you say one like this is the best artist of all time? Like, no, it's a thing that flows. It's a thing that ties with the emotion. Human emotions are not consistent. You might feel very happy one day and you might want to listen to something, upbeat, and then you might feel kind of, down, kind of sluggish a little bit. Might want to listen to something a little bit that kind of matches the mood or whatever. There's music artists that you play when you lost somebody who was close to you, and then there's music artists you play when you just got married, So that's why it makes it very difficult to say who's the best, because you have so many different elements, and then you have so many masters of the different elements, so to speak. And
Bob, I'm gonna say, go ahead. My bad.
Do you feel like us knowing that it will give us more empowering and better music, us knowing about like the, I guess, elements of it, instead of us being all like, okay, this is music and it has to be this way?
You're right, 100,000% on the point, brother. Because I was on my other show that I do this past Tuesday, Craig Facts. We was talking about this, and they were talking about who's better, E40 or Too Short. And I just stopped the whole conversation. I was like, look, man, this is where hip hoppers get it wrong. The hip hop generation forgot about the music, and music is an art, not a competition. If you want to watch competition, that's what we got basketball and football for, and boxing. Go compete over there. Now, artists compete amongst each other to make the best piece of work, but the listener's job isn't to compete. The listener's job is to listen and take in what's happening, because if I'm feeling a certain way, if I want to work out, I'm not about to listen to no, as much as I love smooth R&B, I ain't about to work out to Sade. At the same time, if I'm feeling really angry, I might want to play some funk or some hardcore hip hop to get it out. But then once it's out, I'm going to want to turn on some, I'm going to want to hear some music, some harmony. Like me, it comes down to how you feeling. And I said that to say this: in hip hop, you'll be like, oh, such and such is a better lyricist because they flow this and they have better lyrics and they do all this, and that rapper only does that. Music is expression. See, where the jazz listener gets it right is the jazz listener sees a pantheon of jazz greats. We see Buddy Bolden begat Louis Armstrong, begat Dizzy, begat Miles, begat Roy Hargrove, and we see it like in a lineage. And it's not about who's better, it's about who does what and what are you feeling in the moment. You know what I mean? Sometimes I love Dizzy Gillespie. I love Dizzy, but I can't listen to Dizzy every day all the time. That hard that bebop sound, that furious sound, I like it, but after a while I gotta Now I gotta go and listen to I might listen to Oscar Peterson, play that piano, really chill me out. And then I'm done with jazz. Let me listen to some Earth and Fire now. Then I'm done with Earth and Fire. Let me listen to some Confunction. And then in today's world, they'd be like, whoa, how you go from Earth and Fire to Confunction? Confunction only sold 200,000 albums, and Earth and Fire sold 50 million. These dumbass music album selling ass conversations. And about how much the music sold, it's about how it make you feel. And music is all about the feeling. And some of the artists that you like the most probably sold 2 albums. But if that song make you feel good, then it's good. We've gotten screwed up into this whole, if it ain't mainstream approved, if it ain't widely known and widely out there, it ain't shit. You know what I mean? And again, that's where we mess up. It's art. Art is subjective. And your favorite song, you're not even in the right mood to listen to your favorite song all the time. Sometimes your favorite songs will come on, but you ain't feeling that right now. Sometimes, like as refined as my music palette is, and I like listening to all that positive shit, man, sometimes I just feel like turning on Too Short Cocktails. Ain't nothing like pimping, just let it roll. Motherfucker shit, goddamn ass. Vulgar as fuck, but I love it. Depend on how you feel. And just be true to yourself in the moment and use the music to whatever mood you in, ride through that mood until you get to the next mood and keep it at that.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Amara Woods for the $5 super chat. She says, what's up, AE and Dwann? Great conversation, brothers. Thank you very much for your super chat, and thank you very much, Dwann. Dwann, I'm not going to keep you too much longer. We've been having a great conversation. I'm definitely going to have you back soon. I know we've had technical issues, so we started off a lot later than we normally would have, but we spoke a lot of good game, a lot of great information. Even know that your information as far as your YouTube, your Twitter, and your Instagram is linked in the description. And if you guys aren't following him, you guys definitely need to. Can you tell people where to reach you and if there's any upcoming projects or things that you're working on that you'd like to let the audience know of?
I got a whole lot. I appreciate that. At Dwann B, at DWANB, no spaces, nothing like that. And that's across platforms. That's Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and also on the Caffeine app. I got a special announcement coming regarding that. Some content I may be putting over there, but I got to get all the paperwork signed before I announce that. But I would just follow me on my Instagram, and all those announcements will be coming. Because when I do Incense and Ashtrays, Hotepish, my 2 shows. Hotepish is more about news and information, current events, breaking shit down. Incense and Ashtrays is my music, interviews. I got some dope ass interviews coming with some high level artists. But follow me at Dwann B on Instagram and Twitter. That's where I tweet all that shit out. And also on Discord, at Dwann B on Discord. I like people going to my Discord because y'all know they be shadow banning us on all these social media stuff. So if you want to find out what I'm doing, my Discord group, I'm about to put a discount in there. Everyone that's on my Discord is going to have a percentage off my merch. I'll be putting that percentage in the Discord sometime this weekend. But yeah, follow me at Dwann B on all that stuff. I'm putting together my music documentary series. It's high quality. It's some good shit. I was gonna show you like I'm 1 second. Let me turn it down. So this is the quality of it. We really doing it. You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to tell, but I don't want to give it all away. But you know what I mean? This
sneak peek.
Yeah, this is some high level shit that we doing right here. This is just the sneak peek of it. But we breaking down a whole music tree in a series format. That's coming up pretty soon. Well, not pretty soon because I don't want to put no pressure on my editor. So editor, if you're listening, I won't say pretty soon. I want to give you as much time as you need to do the shit. All right. I still got this sound going. My bad. And so that's coming. Damn, I got a lot of shit coming. I be forgetting. I got my live drum sample packs. They're out on swagsample.com. They will be up on Incense and Ashtrays. Just my web guy. he had some other shit going on, so I'm looking for somebody to help me put those up on my website. And but yeah, just follow at Dwann B on all that shit. I got a whole bunch of shit that I'm forgetting to announce because I'm a constructive dude. So just follow Dwann B and you'll find it.
Okay, thank you. Before we go, I want to give an apology to Amara. I said sister. He's a brother, not a sister. I apologize for
Mara
that.
Woods. Yeah, that marvelous. Yeah, what's up, Mara?
I apologize. That's my bad. That's my bad. But you have a lot of your people in here, so thank you very much. Brothers and sisters, that is Dwann B. You guys follow him on all of his social media platforms. The link to that is in the description. Make sure you guys follow him because he has a lot of upcoming projects and you don't want to miss out on that. So you want to, stay up on his stories, on his tweets, all of that stuff, and subscribe to his YouTube channel because that's where he gives a lot of his, I listen to it. I learn a lot of information. That's where he gives a lot of his information, not just as far as music, but as far as things going on in society today, all of that.
I appreciate it.
With that being said, brothers and sisters, please make sure you guys, if you guys haven't done so, please subscribe to our brother Dwann's page, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Also, later on, I'm going to be in the description. I'm going to be putting a link to a conversation I had with our brother Sage about his music. So you guys want to check that out if you guys haven't done so already. And then you guys can go to Spotify and you can support our upcoming artists who are independent of the dominant society, as we had earlier today, the conversation earlier today. Before we go, M. Flowney said, what incense are you burning? Is it a special type of incense or are you just burning?
I bought this. I don't remember the name. I got it from a sister in Leimert Park. Shouts out to GIC. She be on 43rd and Degnan. If you know South Central, if you know Leimert Park, you know what I'm talking about. She be on 43rd and Degnan.
Absolutely. Well, brothers and sisters, that is our brother Dwann B. Make sure you guys follow him. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I will catch you guys later. You all have a good one.